This is an NBC News special report. I'm Corey Coffin. We have major breaking news on the missing American F-15 pilot who was shot down in Iran on Friday. Tonight, confirmation that an American operation to rescue the missing U.S. airman has been successful. The F-15 Strike Eagle aircraft was on a bombing run with two people on board, a pilot and a weapons system officer who sits behind the pilot when it was shot down. The pilot was rescued on Friday. Now, according to the president, the weapons systems officer has been rescued as well. President Donald J. Trump posted this statement just a few moments ago. Quote, "We got him, my fellow Americans. Over the past several hours, the United States military pulled off one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history for one of our incredible crew member officers, who also happens to be a highly respected colonel, and who I am thrilled to let you know is now safe and sound. This brave warrior was behind enemy lines in the treacherous mountains of Iran, being hunted down by our enemies, who were getting closer and closer by the hour, but was never truly alone because his commander-in-chief, secretary of war, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and fellow warfighters were monitoring his location 24 hours a day and diligently planning for his rescue. At my direction, the U.S. military sent dozens of aircraft armed with the most lethal weapons in the world to retrieve him. He sustained injuries, but he will be just fine. This miraculous search and rescue operation comes in addition to a successful rescue of another brave pilot yesterday, which we did not confirm because we did not want to jeopardize our second rescue operation. This is the first time in military memory that two U.S. pilots have been rescued separately deep in enemy territory. We will never leave an American warfighter behind. The fact that we were able to pull off both of these operations without a single American killed or even wounded just proves once again that we have achieved overwhelming air dominance and superiority over the Iranian skies. This is a moment that all Americans, Republican, Democrat, and everyone else should be proud of and united around. We truly have the best, most professional and lethal military in the history of the world. God bless America, God bless our troops, and happy Easter to all," end quote. Of course, it is notable that this operation fell on Sunday morning in Iran on Easter Day, Easter morning. We want to go now to our NBC News military analyst, Steve Warren, who is a retired Army colonel and a former Pentagon spokesman. We thank you for your time, Colonel, and we want to know, kind of just to start off here, what could we possibly know about a mission like this?
Well, thanks, Corey. And it is a great Easter surprise for this airman and, of course, for this airman's family as well. So this is very good news. A mission like this is highly complex, and the little bits of reports that we're beginning to receive indicate that it was exceptionally complex. Several dozen aircraft involved, providing both cover, and cover, when we say cover in this context, what it means is preventing enemy forces from closing in on where this downed airman was located. So this is active, dynamic combat operations. It may or may not have involved a firefight. We don't know that yet, but we know that there were several aircraft involved in this, along with very highly trained Air Force pararescue personnel. These are special operators, every bit as well trained as some of the more renowned special operators that we hear about in the Navy SEALs or Army Delta Force. They're very highly trained specifically for these types of operations, Corey.
Now, when you talk about the fact that this had several dozen aircraft that would have had to be involved for a very complicated rescue mission like this, we also know that there were still reports that there were Iranian air defenses. People in Iran, namely the military, would have had shoulder fire missiles and guns as well. So is it safe to say that with the several dozen aircraft that would have been involved in a rescue operation like this, Iran still had plenty of firepower to fight back and try to thwart this operation?
Let's be very clear, Corey. Everyone involved in this operation was in danger while they were doing it. The Iranians, we believe that we have reduced a majority of their more complex and high-end, or we often say exquisite, air defense capabilities, but they still retain the ability to use things like, in America, we refer to them as Stinger missiles. It's something many people have heard about. These are shoulder-fired weapons that have heat-seeking capability. The Iranians have a similar system that they do have available to them. And in addition, and we saw this yesterday, several Black Hawk helicopters were struck by ground fire. And in these images, you can see some of these helicopters, they fly low, they fly slow because they're looking for this downed aviator. And really just tribesmen, we're hearing that tribesmen perhaps armed with just AK-47s are firing up into the air. And some of those bullets impacted these helicopters. So this was a dangerous operation. It was deep behind enemy lines, and every single one of the service members who participated in it should be proud of what they have accomplished. They showed bravery, they showed tenacity, and they showed grit, Corey.
Do we have any idea at this point, knowing what we know, we don't know specifics yet, but knowing what we know from your expertise about what it would have taken to pull this off, do you have any insight on whether you think there were more troops that had to be grounded to help this out? Could this have also been a ground operation in addition to a very dangerous aerial mission?
I don't have any doubt that there were personnel on the ground, potentially providing a secure perimeter around this downed airman as they recovered him. We don't know what this airman's injuries were. Clearly, they're still alive, which is great news, but we don't know how mobile they were. Surely they were dehydrated. So, a difficult situation. So, yes, there were personnel on the ground. There's no question in my mind about that. You can't do this without putting some people on the ground. Whether or not those people on the ground were actually engaged in a firefight, that much we don't know. But we do know, I can assure you, there were personnel on the ground to help this aviator get loaded onto the helicopter and to get evacuated out of Iran.
Okay, now in light of what the president has just posted on Truth Social regarding what he believes the state of Iran's military capabilities at this point, do you think that this changes the president's strategy in this war?
Corey, I don't think it changes the president's strategy, and I'm quite certain that it will not change the tactics and the operations that we see from U.S. Central Command and out of the Pentagon. They are going to continue to prosecute the mission that the president, their commander-in-chief, has given them, and they will continue to do it with efficiency and professionalism. It sounds to me, from what I've been seeing the president say, that he will continue on his current path as well, without much deviation. I mean, this is great news that both of our aviators have been recovered and now they're back safe in friendly territory. And so I think we'll continue to see Air Force and naval forces press the attack against Iran. We know they're doing, and they understand what they're in for.
Colonel, before we let you go, I have one more question. I just kind of want to help our viewers understand and appreciate what these airmen are highly trained in. Can you speak at all to that really quickly before we go? Some of the skills that this airman would have had to hone in on to be behind enemy territory
for his life for the last 24 to 36.
No doubt, Colonel. And as we mentioned before, we do not know the status of his injuries, but we do hope to get an update on both of those airmen and their health status very soon, both of them who were rescued and had this mission gone successfully, both of them. Colonel, we appreciate your time, and happy Easter to you. That concludes this breaking news report. We'll have more coverage right here on NBC News as this story develops. Online at NBCnews.com and on Sunday Today. I'm Corey Coffin. Thank you for watching.